We are being live streamed to the YouTubes. It is the TA report. Happy Halloween Eve. Coming to you here from my parents' basement. That's right. In my parents' basement. That's awesome. Hi GP. Hi Nick.
How are you?
Hey man, I'm fired up. We got moved. We're doing the thing, right? Like we're still sorting boxes and shit. But I'm excited. We're here. We've got everything here. We didn't have to leave anything behind in Georgia, so it's all good. And it's going to take a while to get my office set up the way I want it. But hey, that's beside the point. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with you guys. And the market fucking sucks. You
It
weren't expecting that from me,
does.
right?
It does. It does.
Yeah, it's been bad. I can't say that I've missed. I mean, I have missed trading, but I'm not just trying to jump out in front of freight trains. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
And this week we have a Fed announcement. We have employment numbers. We have AMD tomorrow after hours. We have Apple on Thursday. So
Cool.
we're just like chock a blocka all the way up all week long of chop chop. What's going to happen? I don't know. That's why we're here to talk about it.
That's right.
GP, what do you think is going to happen? More chop suey, more succus maximus, or are we going to hit all time highs by the end of the week?
I don't. The only way the Fed makes a dent in this price action is if they come out and flat out say that it's the end of the rate hike cycle, which I doubt they come out and say because inflation is still kind of prevalent. Not really, somewhat. I don't even know anymore. But the reality is they're still precarious. So I can't imagine them flat out coming and saying the rate hike cycle is done. So I personally think this crap ass price action continues.
Nick?
yeah, I mean, probably the most, again, kind of, at least in terms of what bulls probably want to see is we definitely want to see a continuation of the downside, like through Wednesday. Is Apple, I assume Apple's after the close on Thursday?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But they have a big event tomorrow.
oh, okay.
They announced that they're going to do a night event for the first time in its history tomorrow night, which is
That's
odd
right.
because it's 2 days before earnings. Like, is Tim Cook stepping down or something? I have no clue. But why announce an event 2 days before your earnings report unless it's his final hurrah? I have no clue, but that would be bad. Tim Cook is someone who's generated a lot of alpha for Apple over the years, but I find it to be odd timing that Apple is stepping down. I mean, Apple's throwing this random event in.
I mean, do we think it's just the product release? I mean, we've got.
They've never done an 8 p.m. one.
Yeah, I understand, but are we sure it's not because it's Halloween, right? Could it just be a new product release? Could it be new iPads? Could it be new? You know, I don't know.
Apple robots, man.
I'm not saying it's not an announcement from Tim Cook, and I'm not saying it is. It wouldn't surprise me either way. I'm with you, GP. It's just suspicious timing, so it makes you wonder. But at the same time, well, I was saying earlier, it wouldn't surprise me after seeing Jamie Dimon's going to start selling some of his position in JP Morgan Chase, which I think, remember when we talked about previously on podcasts ago, we had Bezos stepping down. We had who else? Disney CEO changing, right? To end 2019. And GP, part of your theory was like these are people who've made a ton of money and they're getting out maybe toward the topish.
100%.
Right?
Bezos stepped down in 2021, and I think he announced in February or March of 2021, and that's literally been as close as to the top as you can kind of imagine, right? And he, to me, is one of the greatest allocators of free money society, right? He turned free money into a $1 trillion empire.
Who else did we have step down or sell large positions? Satya Nadella sold a large stake in Microsoft, right? Who else?
I think the Tim Cook. So it's either one of two things. It's some completely new. If it's just iPads and Mac, the stock is going to get hammered, right? So if it's Tim Cook stepping down, the stock is going to hammer.
The stock's going to get hammered.
Yeah. So you have only one scenario where, in my opinion, where they release something that's game changing, mind blowing product, which honestly they've done a lot of incremental awesomeness to their ecosystem over the Tim Cook era, but that is the only thing I can think of because it's Halloween and it's 2 days before earnings, that it could be a product that no one's ever heard of, no one could have imagined, is top secret. And
Apple Car.
No, car industry is not doing well right now, right? So
I mean, I don't trick or treat.
Yeah, to me, it's a really odd time for an 8 p.m. event before the earnings call, so it has to be something spectacular.
Well, like Apple Health.
No, it can't be incremental to their ecosystem. It has to be something that changes. Like I think most likely it gets hammered, but it'd have to be something that's kind of game changing to me to be this weirdly timed. This is a blackout period from all companies 2 weeks before earnings.
Well, we'll know tomorrow.
An event during a blackout period.
We'll know tomorrow at this time.
I know. A lot of just funky stuff happening in the markets. They're all trying to kind of do weird things, and it's just all the red flags are continuing to kind of pop up.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of unknowns.
I don't think there are a lot of unknowns, to be honest. I think we could just be I think we talked about this when we first started the podcast, is like, what's going to drive pandemic growth outside of another pandemic?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right? Not much. Now it becomes value conversations, right? So what's trading at, zero book value? What's trading at cheaper free cash flow than treasury yields? Like, you're going to have to dig deep into it. You can't just be a gunslinger and fling shots into the stock market without knowing your fundamentals here, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But I think financials are like, have you seen some of the moves that they've done to the stocks in the last 3 months that they couldn't even do in 2022?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Like, look at Home Depot. Let's start with Home Depot. This is a 7, 8, 9 straight weeks down. Straight down, like not even flinching. Boeing, I expected. We've talked about Boeing a bunch of times. They diluted the hell out of their stock. Them going back to all-time highs is going to be multiple decades, in my opinion, right? But that was 11 straight red weeks. They couldn't even do 11 straight red weeks during the pandemic sell-off.
Yeah.
Right? And that was down like 300 points in 3 weeks. So this doesn't seem like people buying and selling. This seems like it's programmatically done. but that's the price action we have right now. And I don't know what breaks us out of this. I don't think it's FOMC personally. It's got to be something that we don't know. Like what changes the behavior of selling calls or buying puts at every, so selling calls at every resistance point or buying puts at every support, right? Like, which is accelerating, and we're in a negative gamma. We've been in negative gamma for months now. What breaks that trend? It has to be something that we're not expecting usually.
Can you explain negative gamma to those who might not understand what that means in the options world?
Easiest way to explain it is basically the dealers have to stay neutral, like market makers have to stay neutral on their positions, right? So if someone's buying puts, they have to buy the they have to sell the stock, right, so to speak. And so are the futures, right, to stay negative, and they're handling it a few different ways, with especially with the zero DTE. So it's a lot more complicated than just negative gamma, but we're in negative gamma. So basically the higher put strikes become magnets across some of these things. And if you look, I think months, for last at least 2 months, we have closed almost every week with like 0 to very little calls expiring in the money, and it's just puts after puts after puts. But yeah, they just have to short the futures, or they short next week calls or puts, or however they're handling their delta neutrals. I don't know all the complicated stuff part of it. I just know we're negative gamma.
So the magnet is more on the put side. Positive gamma would be the magnet would be more on the call side.
Yeah, and we experienced positive gamma towards the end of May, right? Like we just kept pulling higher and higher to, what was it called, the JPM collar, right? And then we blew past it. So as soon as we blew past the JPM collar, it was getting pulled higher and higher, and it was on thin air, right? So we're in the same kind of ballpark, but on the downside. Doesn't mean it can't accelerate and get worse and worse and worse. I'm not saying any of that stuff. And so you have to find changes in price and action and behavior. And I don't know if you guys see any. A lot of it looks like bull traps.
Yeah,
it does.
Right? Like I know this has been on your guys' bull radar for a while, but I was looking at Pan W and it looks like a thorough short to me.
yeah.
Let's pull her up there.
Yeah. So go to the daily on Pan W, right?
Doesn't look great on the weekly.
No, but you had that big volume kind of back in June. That big volume red candle back early June with the hammer. It's kind of like a hammer, and an uptrend is usually the end of the uptrend, right? And it's pretty much gone sideways since then. It's tried a few times to break higher, and it keeps coming back lower. Earnings came in, and earnings candle wicked right off the top of that. Earnings is the second gap up, or the first gap up. That's earning. It wicked right into that that volume node and sold off, and then tried to go higher, sold off, tried to go higher, and then put in 6, 7, 8 straight wick days on the upside, and started to sell off. You have 2 big red candles inside under the 50, and then rejecting the 50 today. This to me is, I could be wrong, but to me this is looking like, if you're looking at the monthly candle here, it's putting in a monster wick.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a larger time frame. Just to say the weekly, it's a breakout failure. So, in my mind, it's heading back to the low end of the range that it was in previously, which was 250 to 200. There's always the chance of a higher low getting put in, right? Like, let's just say the 200-day holds or something like that. But until I see like some type of candle setup where I think that that's going to happen, I'm going to be on the side that it's heading back to, like, again, the low end of the range, which is 200.
And so it looks to me, as you're talking about that, it looks very similar to ON. And so Pan W,
They got whacked.
yeah, and so you're looking, it's distribution across, and then the final kind of let's start the descent, right? So
Yeah.
for on it was earnings, and so I don't know what it would be for Pan W, Palo Alto networks, but the distribution, it's if you look at this is all kind of we're gonna pump, we're gonna try to pump it higher, but we can't. So
Yeah.
when you have a failed breakout, you have breakdowns. So and the breakdowns are usually brutal when they're this sideways for this long, right? That
They're usually quite spectacular,
yes.
like this one.
That's an example, right? That's I wanted to give you my example of what I think might be next week, might be tomorrow, might be a month from now. I don't know when it could go sideways.
Well, earnings is in a month.
Okay. They've been destroying names into earnings, so I don't know if it lasts till earnings, but the general theme is look at ANET, right? ANET's another one.
Yep.
Destroyed into earnings and then pops. Amazon destroyed into earnings and then pops. Netflix destroyed into earnings and then pops. So far the theme has been I'm going to destroy you into earnings and then let the earnings decide which way we're going to go. It's almost like sell first, ask questions later.
So say Amazon and Microsoft are probably the only two things out there that I actually can say that I like.
Dude, how do you not like Netflix?
Netflix. Actually, you're right. Based on today, like on today's on that bar, I throw Netflix in there. I liked it. Held at what the 50-day, and basically 400. If you want to trade it versus 400, I think it looks. I agree with you. Other than that, I was having trouble finding anything that I like gold too. Actually.
Nope.
Hey
now.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Hey,
We can say that for later.
don't you curse on this podcast.
But those semis, back to the semis, like on and stuff. I still think like once they go after NVIDIA starts to roll, I think the selling is really going to start to pick up.
But I don't think NVIDIA rolls. I think
you don't think so?
NVIDIA. I personally believe NVIDIA is eating the lunch of all of these semis, right?
Oh, okay.
So
sure.
that's my personal theory. I don't think NVIDIA rolls, but I think if it rolls, it's an opportunity for more institutions to load up as if they want it to roll, right? But it rejected the 8-day today. It put in a doji candle. There's not a lot of volume, but there's also not a lot of volume on the downside. It's sideways, but they're crushing semiconductors. It's not just on. Yep. Look at what happened to LSCC. I believe it's been cut in half in the last 2 months.
Oof.
ASML.
Yeah.
It's been weak.
SMCI, how's that doing?
It looks almost exactly like NVIDIA, where it's like it's like hanging on the neckline of.
But I just I see the head and shoulders that everyone's talking about in NVIDIA.
Yeah.
I just don't think it is.
I mean, whatever you want to call it, I if you go to the weekly, I think it's more of just a rounding top.
Yeah, that's what I marked.
And
I don't think it's any of that.
If that really plays out, that puts the measured move basically back at like 300, 320-ish. If it plays out. I think it's more of like I wouldn't call it a head and shoulders either. I'd call it more of like a rounding top, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's possible. We're still holding above the 8 SMA on the monthly. So to me, I don't potentially consider short type positions when you're holding your monthly SMAs, right?
Save us, Lisa Sue. You're our only hope.
Yeah. So that's my personal opinion, is that we're still sitting above the 8 SMA. If you look at the last time we touched the SMA and broke down, it was early 2022. and we broke right through the 8 monthly SMA, even though we closed above it for that month. And then the next month we kind of went lower, but we're holding the May breakout as well. So I personally don't, it could be down. I don't see it to be down, but if it is,
There's
I
a
think
lot
it's
of,
still a buying
nonetheless,
opportunity.
there's a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, of course, it's
So
NVIDIA, right?
however it does trade, it'll probably be a difficult. I mean, with that many people watching, I would imagine that if it does play out, it'll be a difficult trade. I don't know. That's kind of my thought on it. I would say SMCI would be a better target to go after. It's a lot thinner too.
Yeah, my question is though, with everything else not participating and getting obliterated, right? Small caps, Wayfair, Fastly,
Tesla.
but Tesla is actually holding better than either one of those. But for everything that's getting obliterated, all eyes are on these like 10 names anyway, right? So NVIDIA, AMD, Tesla, Netflix. No one cares about Disney. No one cares about Carvana. No one cares about any of these because they're not moving anymore, right? So the ones that are tradable are the ones that everyone's got eyes on anyway.
You want to talk about Tesla for a minute?
Do we?
I mean, don't look great. Obviously, we're below the 200 day, hanging on by its toenails on a weekly chart here. Below 200 doesn't look pretty.
No,
We've done below the 200 before, haven't we, though?
the 200-day
We
moving
have.
average.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, most of the last year.
Yeah.
Well, on the weekly, though, below the 200 on the weekly, it's only been there twice and it's popped back within 3 to 4 weeks, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that's kind of getting to me is not getting to me, but what's it's kind of hard to comprehend is because you have rising moving averages getting tested for the first time in a while, and they're just not holding at all, right? The weakness is pretty palpable out there. So
Yeah.
the 200 SMA is rising on Tesla, and it just blew right through it. It didn't even bother on the daily, right? On the weekly, it's flat. On the daily, it's getting destroyed. And it's not just Tesla. It's literally almost every name out there. Like you're basically testing the rising moving averages for the first time in almost a year, and none of them are holding. I believe Apple's under the 200-day moving average.
It is. The SPY is.
Yep. And we got right back into it on the SPY and rejected it. So did we not? No, Apple. Sorry, I'm looking at Apple.
So at what point do you feel like you're shorting in the hole, right? It's like buying the top, shorting in the hole.
It has felt like shorting in the whole way through, to be honest.
Hasn't it? Keep going. This is my point.
Yeah, it's felt like shorting in the hole, but if you look at like I've been watching the flow, and I hate myself for it because I want to trade chart patterns, not flow patterns, because flow patterns change every 5 minutes. But I've been watching the flow, and there's just no bull flow. It's literally as soon as it gets to any kind of support intraday, they are selling the hell out of calls, right? And so you won't see the put volume spike, but you'll see the call volume spike. But they're just selling calls, right? They're basically saying we're not going anywhere for a really long time, so we're just going to collect our premiums and call it a day. And there's been a lot of ETFs that have been introduced, right? Call premiums and stuff over the last few years. So it goes hand in hand. But it's felt like shorting in the hole, yet we keep dying.
Nick, you were teasing us with your gold buggedness.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, gold is probably one of the a few charts I like. Obviously, I agree with GP's point entirely. Like if you're really gonna swing it, just wait till all-time highs get taken out. But I like that bar that I put in on Friday. It kind of took out that wick high, and it was on nice volume. And it more or less kind of held that wick today. The kind of pull-in candle, I was kind of hoping for more follow-through than it got, but I still like it on both sides of the trade. Whether you're long or short, I think use the 20-day as your guide. Like that seems to be the moving average that we're more or less respecting on both sides of the trend, in my opinion.
Nice inside day too.
Yeah.
Kind of held the holding up that upper wick there from what is that, last Friday before last? Yeah. So it's still showing that it's
There's some
not ready to
strength
give
there.
all that back, right? So not the worst trade idea.
The monthly, it's like, a massive engulfing bar on like pretty, like it's on above average volume even on the monthly time frame, which if we get any kind of follow through, that should lead to a breakout. And if we don't get that breakout, obviously that's kind of the signal right there that obviously it's either not going to work or needs more time, or whatever, however you want to kind of interpret that. But I'm just saying, based on the monthly bar, you should be expecting follow through, and if you don't get it, then yeah.
I heard you back there groaning, GP.
I did too.
No, I was just trying to get the view. I couldn't. Anyway, I was trying to get the YouTube video link up. I don't think we shared it on Stock Twits, by the way. I didn't.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
You sure?
I didn't get tagged, and I don't see any posts from you. I see it on Twitter.
Did. It's there. I see it.
Why is Stock Twits so buggy and laggy?
Maybe because I had 17 cash tags. GPiza.
Oh yeah, if you have 17 cash tags, it didn't make it. I don't even see a post from you in my feed.
I'm taking a social media break to the end of the year.
There you go. I just tagged you again in the comments.
Okay.
Never go to the comments, but I tagged you in the comment. Yes, no, maybe.
I don't know.
See it. I see it.
Yeah, it whatever reason it does not show up. I'll reduce the.
Why are you throttling us, Stock Twits? Who else is giving you this kind of love on a Monday night? Don't we know some people over there? We need to talk to them.
I don't know. I'm still waiting for the way to post multiple charts for the last decade. So
yeah,
I've just fucking had it with Howard fucking chirping shit about Elon that I finally just had to like.
Oh,
what's up?
I just said, whoa.
Yeah, it's just, dude, it was just annoying the shit out of me. I'm like, God, I can't take this anymore. So I don't know. It wasn't not just him. It's just kind of social media in general. Like
hey, Nick, you almost I pulled up the chart here from last week. You almost got your 407.70. Did you buy anything?
No.
Last week you got 409.21. You waiting on $2?
No, I'm waiting for a more of a. I mean, I think we need more than just a
number,
a tag, and yeah.
Okay, fair
like
enough.
If we see like a big wick day, big doji bar, like a massive rally bar, like a huge gap down, like kind of like we got back in like October, or even like March, where like we have kind of a massive gap down and it just gets like massively bought up. Okay, so I'll play.
So to me, a lot of like, I don't, if you guys are following intraday action, I know bags you're probably not as much with all that was going on, but a lot of the intraday action looks like they're pumping it. It looks like traps, right? And it looks like bull traps a lot. they're pumping it so they can get out, and then by like 9:45 it's getting destroyed, right? Like if you're looking at a lot of the actions, it's just like even today the Qs came out of the gate roaring, right?
It wasn't. I was like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, I mean, like it came out roaring, and you're like, okay, cool. We have some. Nope, just kidding. I'm sorry. That's not that only lasted 5 bars, and then the next 17 bars were straight down. Right? It was just like, so a lot of it feels predatory behavior almost. I don't want to say predatory, but it definitely feels that way.
Fade all pops.
Yeah, like the I know this is called price action, but it doesn't feel healthy to me. All these pops are getting faded immediately in testing, which is great from a long-term perspective because this sets up bases, right? And where people are buying resistance or support and stuff. So instead of just going straight down, but a lot of it seems intraday predatory. Is like, I think if you looked at Netflix, for example, over the last 6 days since earnings, every morning, every opening bar is straight to the moon, and then by 9:36 a.m., it's just
Womp,
getting
womp, womp, womp.
yeah, it's just getting faded. And so yeah, I don't like this type of behavior in action, but it's what we got.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're looking to the long side, it's definitely just a step aside and just kind of wait this out.
Oh, dude, not even like look at, it's not just step aside. You've gotten obliterated over the last 3 months, right? Like so,
Yeah.
Shop, Square, PayPal, Wayfair, Fastly, Carvana. If you took any of these longs or you've been holding them, Path,
Smoked.
yeah, Baba, Roblox, like the list can go on. FedEx, Home Depot, Win, Boeing. So I Twilio,
Oh, that's a dog.
Zoom. Well, this goes back to the name one IPO in the last 5 to 7 years that's actually doing well.
Yeah.
Zoom back to all-time lows.
Show enough.
So as much as like maybe the markets are not in bear markets, we've been in bear markets in many stocks for a very, very long time.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot that really there. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot like standout that really lifted off the lows, is there?
No,
like even after, yeah, yeah,
right? Like if you look at all the IPOs, Frog, Zoom, Peloton. Not that Pelotons are profitable, but they like Uber, Lyft. We can go on and on and on. GitLab is not that great. Roblox not that great.
Nothing.
And I'm not just talking about the last 3 months. Like there literally isn't anything I can see. Even your DraftKings got smoked.
Drunken Kings.
Right? It's down 10% in like a week. Snow. I don't see why everyone loves snow. I don't understand.
I have not understood that one. Period.
Right? Then you have Lemonade, all-time lows. Palantir barely holding on. Lightspeed dead. RKT, Rocket Company's mortgages dead. D-Dog dead. Right? Like you're sitting at multi-year lows.
Wow, Datadog gave that 120 all the way back. Wow.
Yeah. And then
LMT, LMT and Katos both finished out last week with a 3-week tight.
Which means it's a short.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna roll over, but
yeah. The 3 weeks tight, all these are predatory kind of setups now. They're literally just gonna break down. They're only 3 weeks tight to get you on bull side. Coin, Coin popped all the way to what, 89?
I know, when Bitcoin popped and then
And go Hood dead, Figs
straight
dead,
shat.
Mandy, whatever, OB dead, Riskified dead, Mark Wahlberg's F-45 dead, European Wax Center dead.
We all died on this podcast.
I'm not ready to crawl under my desk.
Sentinel. I know you like Sentinel, but
It's sucking.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna call it how it's sucking.
Right. I am RX. I like immune. Just I can go on forever. 23andMe dead. WeWork dead. DM. Remember what's that name? The 3D printing company or whatever it's called. Something. Yeah, Desktop Metal. 0.83 from 34. 83 cents from $34 3 years ago. Dock End dead. All hitting all-time lows.
Hey Nick, can the Fed save us Wednesday?
I mean, it sure don't seem like it.
I mean, the damage has already been done, right? They've removed generational wealth from a lot of people buying all these IPOs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jason said, good night. Good night.
But dude, so like it's not just these kind of unprofitable, crappy IPOs. Look at what Square and PayPal are doing, right? Square, PayPal, Roku. These are companies that have been a bit more around, right? These are all breaking down further here. So like these are the ones that need to kind of find some footholdings to show that something is turning. But what changes PayPal?
Jay Powell saying, hey, we no more rate hikes. We're done for the next 18 months.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think can change it, but I don't see him saying that either.
No,
right?
That's not in the playbook. Yeah. Because if he says that, it's inevitable that he would have to go back on that, right? Like he can't predict 18 months in the future.
Yeah. Why would Tim Apple save anything? He's holding a random event 2 days before earnings. It doesn't sound like he's trying to save anything.
And I saw they're promoting it on Twitter too.
Yeah, they're hardcore promoting it too. It's I don't know. Like we can talk about indices, but the fact, if you look at Umbrella, right? Like if you look at some of these long-term
introducing the new MacBook Pro 14 and 16 and the new iMac. That's now supercharged by the M3 family of chips. This was tonight. I thought it was tomorrow night.
I thought it is tomorrow night.
I just clicked on the events, and that's what it is. New MacBook Pro, new iMac.
Oh, fuzzle.
Here's what we announced. A MacBook Pro supercharged. An iMac, the world's best all-in-one computer. That's it. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it was today? I really thought it was tomorrow.
Brother, I just clicked on the
I know, no. I'm looking it up. It says today's event. I really thought it was tomorrow. Oh, we're dead.
Yeah, I see that. M3 chips.
I mean, I've got an excuse. I've been moving boxes and shit all day.
Yeah, I don't have an excuse, but I also don't pay attention to news that much.
Tim Apple saved, not so much, Jason. Tim Apple poo-poo platter.
Dude, the underperformance in so many stocks is bananas, right? Disney's sitting at what, a decade low?
You're the guy who said 2 weeks ago, I really like it right here.
I do, and it did nothing.
I'm still in the camp of the tax loss harvesting. on these losers down here.
Yeah. So when does Square bottom at 0? Is that when the tax locks are? Because that is down to 39.
I mean, sure.
So it's not just Square and PayPal, right? But it's just like overall, like we've talked about the Qs and the Mag 7 or whatever, the Fabulous 12 or whatever we want to call these new sets of stocks, but the underperformance in so many different stocks, it's not just the unprofitable ones, right? Disney's
The
not
scintillating 7.
Yeah. Sexy 7.
The titillating 12.
Right. So I think that's the bigger thing for me here is when I look at like long-term price action, look at Win.
This is a name that you liked not too long ago.
I did, and then it just didn't have the price action. But look at it on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. It has literally done nothing since 2005.
Jack and shit.
Right? Like not a single thing. Basically since the great financial crisis, it has done nothing.
What's up with IoT? Nothing.
Holy
Yep.
shit.
It died.
I just saw a news because I was obviously on Twitter looking at this Apple thing. I saw a thing pop up that Biden is working on a new nuclear bomb. Woo.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fake news and stuff regarding all this stuff going on right now, so I just turned it off.
Yeah, I haven't been I haven't been on any of this crap. Huh.
Well, I don't think Uncle Joe's in the basement of the White House doing it himself. I'd say it's the Department of Defense, but
Well, right.
Yeah.
how about those small caps, huh? Woo!
How many is XPI? A
Oh my
decade
God.
plus of underperformance. IWM back to where it was in 2018, 2017, 2020, 2021, 2022.
Well, what is up? If it's up, then it's up. It's got to be Bitcoin, right? 34.5.
Bitcoin's hanging in there. It's technically it's outperformed Disney and all these stocks, right? Ultimately, over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Like you say what you want about it, but at 34,000.
Well, Nick's the hater. What do you want to say about it, Nick?
Well, what?
About Bitcoin?
Pull that chart up. I mean, you can't argue the chart.
Oh
Well, you
gosh.
can.
DocuSign. Sorry,
Looks like a big old bull flag here, at least on the daily. Breaking above 32 was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like that was a big level.
And holding thus far.
Yeah. Trying to pull the weekly.
Target. Oh, look at DocuSign. Like I hate looking at some of these charts. There's just nothing. Target's back, what, 6 years ago? 7 years
Target's at
ago?
a cool 110.
Yeah. 5 years ago, sorry.
Pandemic prices.
Gilead has not done anything since 2013. Another decade of nothing. Verizon, nearly 200 years of nothing.
I think I
IBM.
was the only one who was like, I don't like Gilead, and you guys were, it's breaking out.
Yeah. Oh.
I know. I'm wrong. I'm wrong plenty too. But this, I don't that and XBI. I don't. Those are two stocks that I will. There's an ETF and a stock that I will never understand all the bullishness about it.
Nope. You did.
This is the dead episode.
China did.
10 days for earnings. Baba, you mentioned Baba earlier. Just can't get out of its own way.
JD dead.
Dead.
Like dead. Like it's just making lower lows.
Now this is like 7 years ago prices.
Yep.
28.
JD is back to where it was in 2015. Or lower, actually. Yep, keep going.
That's the beginning of time right there, brother.
Yep. I think your best strategy is just to buy MicroStrategy.
Anyone have some charts? Because we are dead.
DDoc 16.
D E D. I mean, Randy's not even here. That should tell you something.
Yep.
Randy's like, why do I want to listen to this bullshit tonight? Price action sucks.
Yeah, look at his pave. Another one that broke out was just a trap and then died again. It was looking so good.
It was looking so good.
And then dead.
What's Global Foundries up to?
Dead.
Man. It's not as dead as others, but it's dead. ARM, dead.
Cart.
What would be fair price on ARM? 0?
I don't know anymore.
Can't be though, right? Like if NVIDIA is anything, can't be.
I mean, they even came after FICO.
Because they've been fucking up FICO scores. Ha!
Like, this was been so strong all year. And boom, had that one candle just straight down.
That was a bad week last week.
Yep. Redfin back under $5.
What's Zillow doing? Dead.
There's no charts that don't have like nearly half a decade to a decade of underperformance outside of the 7 to 12 or whatever stocks. Chewy's dead. A-Firm's dead.
Yeah, I pulled up Chewy.
One of the better IPO names is Globe. GLBE.
Yeah.
Better, not good.
I like the monthly.
Yep. They're even crushing CVS.
Well, that's a dying business.
J&J. We can go on. Like, it's just.
So just keep buying puts. Forever.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's some good short look. I can't talk. There are some good looking short setups out there.
TTD, monster monthly Head and Shoulders. All right, that's what the pattern says. It must happen.
Looks like we're
somehow IBM just stays sideways. I don't know how it manages it. TTD on a monthly looks like a big old Head and Shoulders. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
IBM forever sideways.
Your safest investment in any environment.
Yeah. They paid a divvy, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 5% or something like that.
There you go. Just buy 2-year note.
Dude, Doc N, all-time lows. Literally, it's just Ulta does not look good. Ooh,
How's long?
Somebody
Walmart
liked
looks right.
Lulu the other day. Lulu.
Walmart.
Walmart looks better. But if I was betting, I'd say it's a trap to the upside before it gets railed.
Yeah, all right, fair.
Well, that's been the price action, right? Everything kind of sort of breaks out and then takes a dump.
Takes a
Yeah.
doo-doo.
Z-scaler is interesting.
Ollie looks all right. Ollie's bargain outlet.
What are we even talking about anymore? What the
I
hell's
don't
Ollie?
know.
I don't know. I've never even heard of it.
You know, there's another one that looks pretty decent.
Now
O'Reilly Automotive.
O'Reilly and AutoZone, yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting a little nervous though. I was watching them last week and how that huge wide range bar through the 200-day. I was like, holy shit. You know, like how well O'Reilly and AutoZone have done over the last, God, probably what, 10, 15 years. Like if those things start to roll, maybe that's I don't know, a sign of some sort.
The one I do like is the one I've been paying attention to a little bit more is RCL.
RCL.
L.
RCL.
Royal Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean. I mean, fuck, if the world's ending, might as well go enjoy
Go on a fucking cruise.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
I mean, on the weekly, it basically hit the supply zone from the COVID death bars, and on earnings popped pretty hard on decent volume. So,
Earnings
I don't
is
know.
like
Everything else is selling off, and this didn't. So it caught my eye. But once again, these are heavy diluted names, right? Diluted names, not diluted. Diluted names that are kind of take a long time to get back to anything remotely viable in terms of price action, right? So
Yep.
looks like 3D printing is finally going to die.
new, Jason says. Hanging on by a thread.
Interesting. How's CLF doing? I had a good, decent response to earnings.
All right.
US Steel X did pretty well too.
It's not all terrible.
It's pretty bad.
What's Warren up to?
Oxy?
Yeah.
Or
I think he owns 25% of Oxy now. You know, the one that's actually been standing out amongst a lot of them is the strength in spot.
I'll look at that in a minute.
yeah. Add that to the list with Microsoft, Amazon, and Netflix.
Well, the food names have been also standing out. If you're looking for like area like Wing, Texas Roadhouse, Chipotle,
Yeah.
right? So if you're looking at food names, they've been standing out somewhat.
People gotta eat.
Stack is doing okay, nothing great, but it's doing okay. CMG had a big pop, continues to kind of tread water, but Wing did pretty
MG?
well. CMG did well.
Yeah, it's all right.
Who's a nice inside buyer today?
Okta got smoked. Like it's pretty bad.
Man, this is the roughest pod we've had, I think, actually.
It's all my fault because I can't find a good damn good chart. I've been looking. I spent the weekend. I'm like, I'm so depressed on how much underperformance there has been. I'm not just talking about the last 3 months, but overall on so many different names. And I thought I was like, oh, maybe it's just all the SPAC unprofitable names, but they're just going after everything.
Yeah.
Ugly.
You know the random thing while charts kind of suck is I went to the mall for the first time last week with my dad. He wanted to get some steps in and it's cold outside. So we're like, okay, let's go to the mall. I don't know when this changed because I haven't been to the mall in a long time, but the weekdays they now shut at 8 p.m.,
That doesn't surprise me.
which I think it kind of makes sense because a lot of people buy online stuff. But I was just quite shocked. 8 p.m. is pretty early.
I mean, I couldn't have told you. You would have given me a multiple choice.
I think between that and like at least up here in like Minneapolis, between that and like the violence, it's getting like out of hand. Like even like restaurants are closed, like the steakhouses, even in like downtown are running like they're taking their last reservations at 9 and they've got cops at the door.
Oh, interesting.
And so like the malls I can only imagine are very similar in the sense that it's just kind of like, basically, I mean, a free for all. Nothing good
Oh, we don't
happens
have
after
that
dark,
in Jersey yet. Jersey has some really strict laws, so it's pretty civilized. It's just it feels like an economic decision, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no one coming in after these times, so it's not worth keeping it open after 8. I was just shocked.
Yeah, we interestingly like so I've been a we have a well, we've got the Mall of America. Mall of
Yeah,
America is still for the most part pretty damn busy, but south of the city is we have a mall that I've been to just because they built like a skate park in one of the on one of the wings and the kids go there to skate. So, but interestingly, the entire mall is in the midst of bankruptcy. So like the entire mall is like a ghost town with the exception of a very few stores that are open in there, which is super eerie, by the way. And then we have the other mall that's like north of the cities, and
yeah.
it's crazy actually. Anytime I've been up there, how busy they are. Like they just got done remodeling. They're still continuing to kind of remodel. I thought that when eventually when like kind of the shopping malls went kind of became a little bit more or started to struggle, I thought they were going to kind of turn into almost like healthcare type facilities where it's just kind of where I thought it was going, but obviously I was wrong in that. But
Yeah, a lot of the malls are getting to more experience type stuff as well
yeah,
versus
absolutely.
shopping.
Like
I
it's
just
like they're
found a
beautiful.
chart. I just found a chart to make us happy while you were talking, Nick.
I'm listening.
Dell.
Dell.
Personal computers are coming back in style. Look
Wow.
at
I mean, I love
that.
me some Dell down in the 30s.
Yeah. So that's pretty nice. But you know what that is, right? It's a bull trap.
It's a descending triangle. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, it's hard to find anything that's worth remotely putting any money to work. I don't know if you guys would be able to find anything, uh, but I haven't found anything that's looks like Pepsi broke its long-term uptrend line.
I mean, I think there's a huge lesson in that. Like 20 for guys that like started, kind of around that 2020 type time frame that experienced 2022, like heed the warning signs. If there's not actionable setups out there, stop trying to pick fallen knives and pick floors when they're just getting when the bottoms are falling out. Just
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case, but like it's starting to like I think I can understand the annoyance of
Yeah.
the mass crowds that continue to talk about how it's only 7 stocks. I know it's just it's a talking point, but the reality is there's for all the stocks that have performed, there is like 10 times more that have underperformed. Um, right? And I'm talking about blue chip names too. So GE, I think, is another one, right? Like people were high on GE earlier this year, but it is literally 24 years of lower highs. 24 years. That to me is just
That's not good.
right. If you bought GE anytime before basically 2008, you're
I
under.
mean, if you bought GE at this date in 1996, you are sideways.
Yep.
You are at zero.
I believe they suspended their dividend too, so you're not even getting paid anymore.
Damn.
But this is the stuff that's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe the Qs and the SPY and everything has risen, but look at some of these charts. So it's just bonkers.
I mean, what if GE breaks out though? You know, be a fucking monster.
The only way it breaks out is if it takes out 205. That's still $100 from here.
What if the XVI does too?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if Tesla doesn't break down?
You know,
All
all
right,
right, goes.
most of
I
the
I was hoping we weren't going to have another depressing podcast, but by God, here we are.
well, let's make it fun. How do you want to make this fun? What are we short here?
Everything it sounds
Can
like.
can we flip our quarterly picks to shorts?
I blame Bags for making
we
us pick.
no, we have a month, right? December 1st was when we're the first week of December. So yeah, we can pick a short to offset our losses in our longs.
I'm short Pan W.
I'll go with SMCI.
SMCI. What am I going to short? Damn, I put myself on the spot, I guess.
Basically, find anything sitting close to like 52-week highs and pick a short.
I'm going to short. I'm going to short. Damn, I don't know. I mean, I could go back through all these charts that we just looked at and just randomly pick one.
TTD.
Lulu.
All right, all
I'm going to
right.
short Lulu. There you go.
All right.
So let me add these to our little list here. GP, which one did you say? Palo Alto?
Yep.
Nick? Who's yours?
SMCI.
MCI. And I took Lulu.
So a month we're gonna be reminded how much we suck at this.
Yep. 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 And that'll be our last podcast. We're both in the negative on our longs and our shorts.
Pan W is gonna be up 100%. SMCI gonna triple.
Yep.
Yep. And Lulu will probably just stay sideways because that's what it does best.
I don't know. I kind of like the Lulu setup better than your girls. Palo Alto's a good one. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, so
they're all good. They're all good shorts. Short them all. This is not financial advice.
So are you then trimming some of your like bug positions or your cybersecurity positions?
I mean, from the looks of the charts, I'm gonna have to. I'm honestly waiting until we see what happens on Wednesday. I plan on taking a stab on swinging some calls. Um, I think we're going to get an upside surprise. So while the charts look like shit, um,
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm gonna swing some calls in either the SPY or the Qs probably.
That
Maybe
makes
at some
sense.
point, maybe late tomorrow or maybe very early Wednesday. We'll see. For me, when I do trade FOMC, which is not often, it depends how I'm doing. If I'm doing a swing position or if I'm doing a day trade. If I'm doing a day trade, I always wait for the first move. If I'm doing a swing, I'm not too worried about being in. Um, if it's a month out for let's say or more, I'm not too worried about being in a little bit early. I don't want to get smoked out too far away, or um, so we'll see. I'm most likely taking some calls though.
Which makes sense, right? Where if you're the what we just talked about on all these charts and how I constantly kept saying dead is that everyone is positioned essentially the same way, right? That they're short, right? So if any upside surprise happens, the squeeze can be pretty powerful.
Yeah,
So and I think if the squeeze happens, it will be more than what anyone is expecting.
it's going to be quick, fast, and in a hurry too.
Yeah. And so like a lot of this action price action reminds me of, do you remember June 2022 when we just had pretty much straight down? We had like 3 days where the Qs dropped like 10 or 11%.
Yeah, that was before we bottomed out in July.
Yeah. So the price action here kind of reminds me of the same.
Right here.
Just relentless selling, no buying, just the bids have disappeared. It's just straight down. And so like the Qs just lost, I think in the last 2 weeks went from 373 to 343 without as so much even a higher high, right? Like just straight down. So if the surprise happens, yes, I think it's possible that because everyone is positioned in a single way, which is selling the crap out of calls, that's the position I've been saying for the most part, is that you have potential of explosive momentum. But they could also take it down another 5% tomorrow before that explosive momentum happens, right? That's been the problem, that it's not like it kind of stays sideways. It's been a pretty big move down. Right? Like I think Meta is a great example of when we talk about this stuff, right? What was the reason for Meta or Amazon to get absolutely destroyed before earnings? I think Google missed its cloud revenue by 20 million and Google lost 10% in a single day. So yeah, you have potential momentum that can be really explosive here, but something has to kick it off. I don't know what it would be.
We shall see. That's why we have interest in all this, is we like to prognosticate and take sides on what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, but I ask you guys, right? I give my opinion, but what do you think is that catalyst that gets us to that point where it can be explosive?
While I don't think Jay Powell's going to say that we're going to have 18 months of no rate hikes, I think that he can say we are not going to have any rate hikes for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
And I think that's going to cause a pop, because I do think that there is that concern out there, right? That they're not done. Inflation is still higher than they would like. The job market is, I mean, we're fully employed. But inflation's not as bad as it was. And I think normal consumers view it as, well, my prices haven't come down. Well, that's not what that's not what happens. Prices don't come back down. They
Right.
just don't inflate as quickly.
Yeah,
Right.
that's deflation, right?
Exactly. So I think him having some certainty of we are done. He could even say we're done into quarter one, right? And I think that would be an even bigger deal. I don't think he would, but I think that can cause that. Yeah, that can be the kindling, right, to set that short squeeze on fire. Now, is that the most likely? Is that chart based? No. Do we have some charts that are, we named a few of them that are holding on by their fingertips, right?
Yep.
And that while they might look bad, they're not completely broken. So I do think that there could still be a whisper of some bullishness out there if J Pal is going along with it. I think that's a possibility. But as we've mentioned, this whole hour and 15 minutes now, we've been talking about how bad charts look, and they do look terrible. But we've seen good charts go bad, and we've seen bad charts go good. So it's hard for me to remain pessimistic over the long term. While this week might suck or the last week might suck, eventually something has to change. And what is that? Well, the most recent thing on our calendar that could help that's the FOMC.
Yeah. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, catalyst wise, I mean, I don't, I'm not sure. I would just say hitting kind of a major level of support where we just see kind of to your point where there's so many people positioned on one side that we just see an overwhelming snapback. Like the SPY and the Qs, like we're not that far off from kind of like a major pivot. Like we were kind of talking like Qs 330s, like we're really not that far off. It's just whether the bounce and the rip is tradable or not, is kind of what I'm kind of waiting to see.
And to me, right, the balance has to happen off that sort of whoosh of capitulation. You
Yeah,
can't just have programmatic slow selling to get the bounce, right? Like you can go higher, but it's not a bounce. So with this programmatic selling, how do you get something that would be like a bounce? And that would be shorts being caught offside.
Yeah.
like I'd love to see. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
and
like to see the SPY kind of continue lower. Um, Basically down to kind of that 400, and if it could kind of round out and hopefully save the 50-day from undercutting the 200-day, like that would be, I think that would be kind of ideal, but I don't know. I guess we'll see if we get that or not.
yeah, and like my biggest hope is, been talking about it for almost 2 years now, is the price action of Netflix, and it has shown to be the leader when it comes to market direction. It was breaking down before things started to break down. It's popping up before things are popping up. So I like what I'm seeing in Netflix, even though it hasn't, it's basically back to where it was like 6 weeks ago, or 10, 12 weeks ago, but it's finding support where it needs to and pushing higher. So that's my biggest hope in terms of what's going on, because that's what I've been watching for a long time. So I do think the catalyst or conversation is there for a potential squeeze. I feel like it's never something we're expecting, right?
Exactly.
So FOMC is something we're expecting, so everyone's positioned for it. Or
Yeah,
else,
but
But
everyone
I don't
says
think everybody's
any
positioned for it.
yeah, every time that's one thing that kind of like with stock, like probably particularly on stock twits, it's like everyone likes to quote these sayings, but then when push comes to shove, and as soon as we see a rally, everyone's just like hopping on board. Where again, the best thing that we could see is if the first move is the false move, I want to see us continue to puke on Wednesday, and maybe even have a
Yeah.
week open on Thursday to like maybe a mediocre close on Thursday for kind of like a fuck you Friday, but like I don't want to see us rally. If we rally on Wednesday, I don't know if I'll be able to trust it. I guess we'll see.
that makes sense. I think when I talk about positioning, I'm not talking about FinTwit sentiment. I'm watching the flows, right? So like
Yeah.
one I watched last week is Square. Square hit it just had a terrible day. And then I was hoping to see what you normally see on these kind of big moves down at the end of the move down is you start to see leaps come in, right? Like monster leaps, people are selling puts or whatever. And I didn't see any of that in Square, right? So when I say positioning, they're still selling calls. And this is typical, right? This is strategies work until they don't, and then they flip. And so far, I'm still seeing a ton of calls being sold every time anything pops. So it's a strategy that's I'm sure at some point will blow up. I don't know what it will be. But the typical behavior of like I was looking at PayPal too. These are sitting at 5-10 year lows and constant selling, and I was hoping to see some flow to come in to kind of support potentially bottoming over some time, right? Or popping or whatever. But I still haven't seen that. So maybe it's after FOMC we start to see some of it. People start unwinding their positions.
Yeah.
Ugh, shop is also miserable.
All right, fellas. It's past the old man's bedtime. But
Yeah.
we'll see how this week goes. I mean, again, leading off the show, we talked about AMD tomorrow night, FOMC Wednesday, Apple Thursday. There is the possibility of a lot of volatility still. And
NFP Friday, by the way.
yeah. Well, the employment numbers Wednesday too. Wednesday Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday pre-market.
The monthly NFP though.
So we'll see how it all goes. And thanks to everybody for hanging in there with us. This has been another episode of the TA Report with G Pisa, Jeff DI, and Bags. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week with an all new live version, and we'll try to keep it a little more even keel.